How's your Wednesday going? For those in the East Coast in England, how was your Wednesday? It's been a tough week for people and loved ones in Vegas, for fans of rock and roll. Just a lot of sad stuff in the news. Yeah, it's been an intense week. I just wanted to see how you guys were feeling, what's been going on with you guys. Basically, I'm hoping to, get together every Wednesday here on the Good to Go Facebook page and just create a community of people who want to be heroes by just sharing their story. I think getting through grief is such a tough thing that you rely on other people, to and their stories to help you. I know that when my mom died, it was one of those things where I didn't have a lot of friends who had similar circumstances, but those who did, I just immediately wanted to know, how do you get through this? I wanted to produce it. I wanted a timeline. Okay, this is how long you're going to feel this much pain, and then this is when you're going to start to feel better, and things like that. And the thing is, there's no one answer. Grief is so individual, but it's always good to hear how other people kind of cope and how other people get through their grief, because you never know, by sharing your story, you might be helping someone, they might be reading your comment, they might be, latching on to something that's resonating to their story, to their experience. And that's how we all help each other. We're all put on the planet to share our light with each other and to help each other out and to just, spread the love. And that's what I'm hoping to do on this page. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about why a celebrity death impacts us so much when we don't know those celebrities personally. A lot of stuff was going around on Facebook this week, obviously, about Tom Petty. Their experiences of getting made fun of because the death in the news, people were reacting and posting stories, and that is such a natural thing to do when somebody passes away, to share stories and to share your memories. That's all part of the grieving process. It's such a shocking thing. You just kind of want to be reminded of when those people were around, and to know that there's a common experience and that other people might feel the same way that you do. And so as far as celebrity deaths go, especially with pop culture, these celebrities, for good or for bad, are part of our lives. I've read a lot this week about how Tom Petty's music is, people didn't realize how big of a part of their lives his music was, whether it was, a first dance to that song or a lovely moment at a concert or whatever. Those things are personal. Those things are worth grieving because those are your personal experience. And so it shouldn't really be made fun of. I've seen comments where you didn't even know that person, whether it was someone famous or a friend of a friend. But the thing is, you can still mourn somebody's loss. There's, different levels, and it's an intense thing when you lose somebody. So, if you're feeling a little griefy, for me personally, I didn't know Tom Petty. Hi, Fatima. How are you? Hi, Candace. Talking a little bit about Tom Petty. I know that you love Tom Petty, but we're just talking about how celebrity deaths can impact your real life. And for me, even though I never met Tom Petty, I was at an event where I was a talent escort and I was kind of around Tom Petty, which was cool. But I think for me, my grief that I'm feeling is more a reflection of my personal experience. Like I was following Tom Petty's daughter's Instagram, which was, devastating because she was kind of chronicling what was going on. And, I saw a couple pictures of her in the hospital, and it just instantly flashed me back to when, my dad was in the ICU. And so it's things like that. Like, that's a very tangible thing. Like, okay, I didn't know Tom Petty, but I'm seeing this picture of a daughter who's in pain over her dad, who's between worlds. And boy, I really could relate to that, and found myself getting kind of griefy. I mean, after hearing all of the news and the stories in Vegas, and then just being devastated by that, and then the news of Tom's passing, it was a lot. And I think it was a lot for a lot of people. And afterwards, Monday night and Tuesday, I just felt really heavy. I just thought, I want a nap. I wonder if I'm coming down with something. I was like, I wonder if I've got the flu. I wonder if I've overdone it. And it's like, nope, that's just feeling griefy. It's all coming back of the griefy feelings. So I just wondered if anyone out there was getting their grief kind of triggered, or, how they're feeling, coping with everything. It's a tough thing, man, just thinking about all the loved ones. And of course, because I look through things through advanced planning goggles, my first thought was, whenever I see of a death or, a tragedy, I just think, oh my gosh, I hope that they had some sort of advanced planning sorted out, just anything, anything in writing, or maybe if they had the conversations. And then I was reading that Tom Petty actually had a DNR order, which stands for Do Not Resuscitate order, which is just a doctor's orders that clarifies if you want extraordinary measures taken after something happens to you, if there is a quality of life, or if you feel you don't want extraordinary measures taken, if there's no quality of life on the other side of it. So, these are a lot of the things that we discuss during Good to Go parties and consultations. But as soon as I read that, I just thought, okay, that's a good thing that somebody, whether it was Tom Petty's team or family, said, think about a hypothetical situation of, and this is for everybody watching right now too, and for everybody. I practically stalk to tell them this, but it's so important to have the hypothetical conversations and think, hey, if something happened to me, if suddenly I fell into a coma, this is what I would want done. I wouldn't want this. I would want this. The important thing is to talk about what you want and share that with your family and your loved ones, but also to write it down in a living will and an advanced healthcare directive. It's really important to pick a healthcare proxy and to pick somebody who is going to be up to the task of handling it, and possibly, fielding, medical information from doctors and for a team, and dealing with families. So it's really, really important that you have these conversations. And I think, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think that the fact that Tom did have a DNR and that his family made sure to present that to the medical team was a huge comfort, because I think that his forethought and the fact that he was loving his family and friends enough to say, okay, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to give you instructions. That's kind of what it is. People have joked about the Good to Go Advanced Death Care Directive, is this little booklet that I wrote, comes in the departure file, as being a cosmic instruction manual. That's exactly what it is. It's an instruction manual to say, hey, this is what happens, Candace is in Chicago. I wonder where Fatima, where are you writing, or where are you tuning in from? I would love to know where people are tuning into the live from, and I would love to know what your experiences have been this week, and if anyone's feeling down. But I'm trying to think, on the other side, it's really important when you're grieving to focus on the things that bring you joy too. And as sad as I was for from Illinois, another Illinoiser from Andrea, or is it Andrea? Getting fancy. I'm just going to say Andrea for now. My mom lived in Oak Brook Terrace, so I love Illinois. I'm from the Midwest too. So we're talking about when you're grieving, it's really important to, try to look at positive things as well. Fatima's in Savannah, Georgia. I have never been to Savannah, Georgia. I would love to be down. I'd love to go there. I've only been to Atlanta, hot Atlanta. Manitoba, Canada. Hi, Amanda. We're just talking about the need to kind of focus on things that you find joyful when you're grieving. And one of the things that makes Tom Petty's passing a lot easier, even though it was completely shocking and unexpected, was the fact that he had just a beautiful life. He had over 40 years of doing exactly what he loved. And as a rock and roll fan and knowing how much rock and roll enriches my life, it was great to know that he had a lot of years, almost 66 years filled with the joy of rock and roll and what that brings. And so that makes me happy. He made a great living doing something that he loved to do, and he shared his gift with other people. And that's what we're all here for, is to share our light. Let's see. Fatima says, I never realized how important it is to have one until I heard about what you do. And it hit me like, wow. I know a lot of people don't think about needing any kind of end of life paperwork. And I have an issue with even calling it that, because it kind of gives the impression that you need to be a senior citizen in order to complete your paperwork, or that you have to be a rich person in order to have a will. But everybody needs, like I'm not rich, and I don't own a home, so I don't feel that I need a will from an estate attorney, but I definitely fill out my good to go paperwork, because if something happened to me, somebody's got to come into my apartment, and how are they going to figure out how to get a hold of my landlord? And when is my rent due? And what is, how much time do they have to clean out my place? And what do I want, what kind of instructions do I have as far as getting rid of my car or my couch or things of sentimental value? These are things that happen to everybody, no matter what age you are. Your life can just be taken like that, as evidence from Vegas. How many of us have decided to go to music festivals just to enjoy life and to be a part of that huge musical extravaganza? To me, it just moves the molecules and makes me feel so much better. But then something like this happens, in Vegas, and, no one anticipated that. They were just out having a good time and blowing off steam from a, hard week's work. And it's intense, but everybody needs to write stuff down. I tell people when you're 18 to age 108, it's for everybody, and everybody needs to have these conversations with their loved ones. I even take it to an extreme level. Like when I'm out with my friends, I actually give them my iPhone lock code in case something happens. For people who are joining us, like Fatima and Amanda and Andrea, do you guys, tell your friends, if something happens to me, here's my lock code on my phone? Do you have an ICE in case of emergency contacts listed in your phone? Even that is just a basic thing. A friend of mine who's an EMT was telling me how important it is to have an ICE contact in your phone, because that's the first place that paramedics go to see, okay, who to call, that kind of thing. Andrea says, my dad was diagnosed with esophageal cancer a few years back, and he decided to plan his funeral. Everything was already paid for, and as hard as it was to talk about death, it also gave us the peace of mind that we don't have to worry about anything when the time comes. It's so true. And did you find it morbid when your dad started talking about stuff like that? I didn't find it morbid. I've heard of instances where people have been diagnosed with a terminal illness and they actually want to have this conversation with their loved ones, but it's the loved ones who are saying, oh, let's not talk about that now, or, oh, let's not think negatively, or, things like that. And it's just like, no, especially if the person that's ill wants to get their stuff in order, or as I call it, their poop in a group, then by all means, allow that. I met a guy who was telling me, he was in his 70s, and he was telling me that his mom, who was 73, started talking to him about, okay, I'm starting to clean out the garage, and I want you to have this, and I want to make sure that your brother has this and your sister has this, and he said, and I kept telling her, Mom, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out, well, don't worry about it, and I just thought, you're dismissing her needs. She obviously feels the need to kind of get things in order, just to be organized and then not have to think about it. That gives her peace of mind. So it's kind of a weird twist of when, people actually want to get their advanced planning done and want to have these conversations with their loved ones. And it's the loved ones who are like, no, this makes me uncomfortable, I don't want to talk about it. So definitely, talk to as many people in your inner circle as possible about what you wanted. I mean, Andrea, I'm so glad that your dad had the forethought to, organize everything, or at least express what he wanted. And I'm sure that during that time, that's the thing, is like, I knew exactly what my dad wanted, and I didn't have to make one single gut-wrenching decision. And that is such a beautiful, loving gift. Alicia, you ordered your packet months ago and didn't get it. What? I have had so many problems with the U.S. Post Office. Let me just take a moment to vent here for a moment. Someone from Germany ordered a departure file, and I sent it literally the next day. I got the order that night and went to the post office the next day. And 2 weeks later, and it takes a couple weeks to go overseas, she emailed me and said, I haven't received it. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, let me look at the tracking. So the package, it took a month to go to San Francisco. And then I literally checked on the tracking yesterday. It was in Germany, but that went from Germany to Greece. And now it's on its way back from Greece to the actual address in Germany. I don't understand it. I will tell you that as soon as I get an order for a departure file, I go to the post office within 2 days, maximum. Yeah, I think 3 days was the longest I've ever gone without sending it. And that was only because I was away in New York on business doing good to go parties. But I am so sorry. Alicia, keep me posted, because it should be getting there. I send them media mail, which should only take a couple extra days rather than the regular post, just because it's less expensive to send it media mail when you send documents only. But man, I have had so many problems with the post office. I'm gonna check on your tracking, Alicia. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna check on your tracking and see when you ordered it, and then I'll see how long it's been. Yeah, message my info. Your name sounds familiar because I address all of them myself because I'm a one-woman show here. So your name does sound familiar. So I'm sure that I got it. I'm sure that I sent it. So I have no control over the U.S. Post Office. So apologies for that. Oh, it's mortifying. I don't like to do business that way. But I'm pretty sure. But anyway, we'll talk, Alicia. And if you don't receive it soon, then obviously I will send another one out to you, no charge. Oh, the U.S. Post Office, come on, people, let's do it. And then Alicia, you still like me. I appreciate it. You said, I love what you do. Well, thank you. I'm just trying to help prevent other people from going through what I went through. Hey, Angie, how's it going? Angie just emailed me today saying that she ran across somebody that looked like me. That's weird. Do I have a doppelganger where you live? That's really strange. Alicia says she's had 3 deaths since April and they were all prepared. Wow. Wow. That's rare. That is really rare that somebody's prepared and that you've had 3 deaths, which I'm sorry for your loss, since April. Oh, and it's only October now, or Rocktober. That's it's intense, and I'm sorry for your loss. Angie says she's identical. So obviously Angie's hanging out with supermodels all the time if she sees people that look like me. What? Just kidding. That's so funny. So Alicia, you know, I would love to know what kind of tips that, you know, or anything that you found that's helpful getting through your grief. Because here's the thing, if you guys share your experiences, you know, somebody else might, you know, cling on to something and resonate with that, and that might help them. And so, you know, I mean, I overshare anyway in my personal life, and now I'm oversharing on Facebook, but, but I think that's, you know, that's the only way, so people can see themselves reflected in you and think, oh, well, that's a good idea. I never thought of that, you know. So it's just good to share experiences. And you know, my friend Christina Kuzmich, who some of you may know, some of you may have joined my page because of her, as she was saying, you know, we each have the power to help each other, and especially now when you're feeling so helpless. With all the stories in the news of, you know, how to reach out or how to help, I think one thing you can do is just, you know, be helpful, you know, to others who are in your immediate circle. You know, just, we all have the power to impact change and to share love and compassion and empathy, and that's free, you know, and anybody can do that. Angie says, remembering the stories, yeah. And celebrating the life of the person that passed, that's huge, you know. I love that. Alicia was talking about how she's met with a grief counselor, made me feel like what I was feeling is totally normal. Yeah, don't judge your feelings. That's fantastic. And give yourself permission to experience them. Yeah, I mean, I just felt crazy. I just thought, oh, I'm going crazy now because I feel so crazy. Like normally I'm kind of, you know, you're at work and you handle your business and, you know, put out fires and, you know, you're capable, you handle things, and then death visits and then you're just like, what? I have no idea what I'm doing or how to act or how to be or how to feel, you know, because your life has changed. You have to invent a new normal. And what is that new normal? I had no idea. So, you know, like Alicia, I immediately called a grief counselor, and I found grief counseling to be critical in moving through the process of grief in a healthy, positive way. Because I thought this has the ability, and I think deaths, you know, have the ability to make you lose your marbles, because it's such a crazy concept that you can't wrap your brain around. So it's really good to have an outsider, you know, a professional who's, you know, I kept saying to my grief therapist, have you had a lot of clients who are grieving, and how long did it take them, and what did they do? You know, I wanted to produce it, you know, because I'm a producer. And so that's really important, is to share your experience with others and to feel less alone. And we were talking about how it's important on even on Facebook to share your experiences. Angie says, I think having death is part of life before death happens in your life helps us have a better perspective about death. I do too, but then again, you know, people run away from me at parties when they find out what I do. So a lot of people don't want to talk about death. And I think that's because of what society preps us and tells us to think about death, that it's morbid, that it's horrible, that it's an awful thing, that it's almost a punishment, that, you know, when someone dies, like, what did they do? You know, when you hear someone has cancer, you think, oh, did they smoke? Did they eat poorly? You know, and it's just like, death is not a punishment. It is literally a part of life, just as birth is. It's, you know, I think an issue with society, and I think other death positive organizations like Good to Go, but then like, you know, Undertaking LA or the Order of the Good Death, or, you know, a million other death cafes or death and dying dinners, you know, all of these organizations are trying to, you know, kind of bring death out in the open and and encourage people to talk about it. And here's the thing. Just because you talk about it doesn't mean you're super cool with it. I'm not like, oh, chilling, thanks, death. You know, it's just like, no, it's still devastating. It's still painful. It's still the hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with. I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't mean if we talk about it that we're not giving it the sort of reverence or respect that it deserves. It just means that, you know, the more we talk about things, it's kind of like rote memory. You know, if you tell people your wishes and what you want done, you know, in case of emergency, in case of death, then it's just going to be rote memory, and it's going to be a lot easier for them to deal. But anyway, thank you guys for joining in. I am definitely going to see you guys next Wednesday. I will be older next Wednesday because my birthday is on Tuesday. So shout out, happy birthday to all you Libras. Oh, the sun is slowly grabbing the camera, so I'm going to move the computer a little bit. I'm standing next to my window, sitting next to my window in my kitchen. So yeah, happy birthday to all you Libras out there. And Angie and Amanda and Candace. Oh, hey, Candace. I didn't see your comment. Sorry. Candace said, as a kid, my parents did their own version of You're Good to Go file every vacation they took. It's true. So that way you guys grew up knowing how to handle the basics. And your friends thought you were weird. But I know you, and yes, you are weird. But no, you're not. I say that with love. But in a way, you're weird in, you know, the fact that your parents wanted you to know that kind of stuff before you went on vacation. It's so interesting. And I've heard from so many clients, people are saying, you know, oh no, I don't have any advanced planning, but before I go on a long trip, I frantically send an email to my mom or my, you know, brother or sister and say, okay, everything's in the safe. Here's the combo, you know, and all of that stuff. And it's like, well, that's good that you think of that before you take a trip. But, you know, it's also good just to have in everyday life and to write it down. So, oh, next Tuesday is your wedding anniversary on my birthday, Angie. Okay, well, happy anniversary, happy birthday. We'll have a drink. This is unnamed orange soda, but I'll cheers to you. Happy anniversary. All right, you guys. I'm going to see you next Wednesday. And thanks for joining in. I hope that all of you are getting your advanced planning sorted. I hope that all of you are starting the conversations with your loved ones. And I hope you guys are going to get good to go. So take care, and I'll see you guys next week. And just hang in there and just try to remember the positive things. You know, we're here, we're taking a breath. Life is good. And you're going to get through it if you're grieving. That was the thing that was really important to know, is that it's not going to reign forever. The heaviness of grief, it won't last forever. And I know you guys can get through it. So I'm sending out all of my love to your tender grieving hearts. And I'll see you next week. All right. Take care, you guys. Bye.